Okay, so I think last time we learned together, I kind of squeaked away without really answering the burning question that we had at the end of Mishnah Aleph and Perkei Avos. So let me just pull it back up, and then we'll do a very brief review.
Why do we have this when the idea is clearly addressed to leaders and not like Jews in general?
Right. So
that was the question, right?
Right. So the first Mishnah Avot says Moshe kibel Torah miSinai umasara liYoshua. So we had a couple of points that we mentioned over here. First of all, Moshe didn't give the Torah to Yoshua. Moshe gave the Torah to the whole Jewish people. And if the whole point of this Mishnah and subsequent Mishnayos are to trace the chain of Masorah back all the way to God, so that we know Moshe is not giving the Torah, he's giving, the Torah Shebechtav, that we already knew. The point of the Mishnah in Perkei Avos is Moshe kibel Torah, which Torah? The Torah Shebal Peh. That's what he gave, along with the Torah Shebechtav, to Yoshua, who gave it down through all the generations. So then the Iker's Chaser Min HaSefer is the way they would say it in Yeshiva. You're missing the main point of the Mishnah. It shouldn't say Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. That's not where Moshe got the Torah from. He got it from God. And in fact, it's such a good question that in Avos de Rabbi Natan, they write it exactly the way I want them to write it. Avos de Rabbi Natan, there are two, I think the term is recensions, Aleph and Beis. So Solomon Schachter found this in the Geniza, in the Cairo Geniza. And I guess we can't tell which one is like the original, but in Avos de Rabbi Natan Nusach Beis, so this is recension B, you get the following: Moshe kibel Torah miSinai, lo mipi malach, v'lo mipi saraf, ela mipi melech malchem lochem hakadosh baruch hu. Right? That's what I want our mission to say. Moshe got the Torah from God. Why Moshe got the Torah miSinai? Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
Okay. So the answer that I would like to suggest to you is that this term miSinai is almost like a coded message to us. And what the message is trying to tell us is that there's another phrase or concept in Chazal that also uses that same language that has a very important embedded meaning. That phrase is Halakha LaMoshe miSinai, right? If the phrase that is bothering us is miSinai, then there must be a reason the Mishnah used Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. I think it's trying to hint to us that Moshe didn't just get the Torah Shebal Peh. Moshe also got Halakha LaMoshe miSinai. There is a very interesting Gemara that we're going to do together in 10 minutes or less, hopefully much less, in Menachos. This is Menachos 29b, eventually. And this is the story of Moshe going to learn in Rabbi Akiva's Beis Medrash. You guys familiar with the story?
Yeah.
Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it quickly, and then we'll try to dig into it a little bit.
Moshe's writing in the Torah, and he's writing the
No. Here, let's read it. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, B'shasha Allah Moshe Lamaram. Once upon a time, Moshe was at Har Sinai. That's our Mishnah. And he went up the mountaintop, and Matzah Kadosh Baruch Hu, he sees God is up there on the mountain. Sheyoshev v'kosher ksarim laosios, and God is decorating the letters with these crowns. Amar Lefanov, Ribono Shel Olam Mimya Akev Al Yadecha. Moshe sees God writing crowns on the letters. Moshe's like, is this what's holding everything up? Like, God, who told you, like, is there any need to do the calligraphy? Like, what is that? Why are we being held back from getting the Torah? Because we're still touching it up a little bit. Amar Lo, God says to Moshe, Adam Echad Yesh Sha'asid Lios Besof Kamadoros. There's this guy who will show up in a bunch of generations from now. The Akiva ben Yosef Shimon, his name is Rabbi Akiva. Sha'asid Lidrosh al kol kotes v'kotes, that he is going to expound every little crown, every little point. On each one of those, he will expound tilim shel halachos, heaps and heaps of halacha. Right? So that's pretty cool, says Moshe. Amar lefan of Ribono Shel Olam, harehuli. I want to see this guy. Right? Yeah. Don't you have like a time machine maybe that I could? No problem, says God. Amar lo chozer lacharecha. Enter the matrix. Halach v'yoshev b'sof shmona shuros. So Moshe comes into Rabbi Akiva's class. What's that?
Christmas of future.
Yeah, right. The ghost of
Really? No, this is going forward in time to 2015 from 1985.
Right.
Yeah.
So Moshe goes into Rabbi Akiva's classroom, and in the Beis Medrash, of Rabbi Akiva, of all the Tanaim, you're seated based on how wise you are. So the smart kids get to sit front row, and the less understanding you are, the further back you go. Usually the bleachers, the nosebleed is row 7. If you're behind row 7, you're basically not even in the game. Moshe sits in row 8. V'lo haya yodea mahen omrim. Moshe has no idea what is going on in Rabbi Akiva's class. Tashesh kocho. So Moshe is like, oh, this is awful. I can't hack it in Rabbi Akiva's classroom. Maybe they're going to send me down to like the kivan shehigia. Yeah. So kivan shehigia ledavar echad. Now, let me interrupt this whole flow for a second. What do you think Rabbi Akiva is teaching in this classroom? Probably Talmud. Probably what God was in the middle of doing, right? God is writing the crowns on the letters, and Moshe's like, what's that for? Oh, there's a guy who's going to expound that. So great, let me go see him do that, right? So the Gemara doesn't say it explicitly, but I'm assuming that Rabbi Akiva is explaining, oh, there are halachos related to the crowns. We don't know any of those halachos, by the way. So Moshe gets into the classroom, and I'm assuming Rabbi Akiva's like, oh, there's a crown on the shin, and here's what the crown on the shin is about. And Moshe's like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Kivan she'igila davar echad. But when Rabbi Akiva mentions one other thing, Amr lil talmidav. So the students say, hey, Rebbe, minayin lecha. How do you know that's true, Rabbi? So he answers, Amr lehem halacha l'Moshe miSinai. It's a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Isn't that funny? Moshe's at Har Sinai. You would think he would know the halacha l'Moshe miSinai, right?
Mind you, Moshe, before he goes back, or before he goes in the future, they haven't been given the Torah.
What do you mean they haven't been given? Moshe's at Har Sinai,
right,
waiting to get the Torah.
Waiting to get the Torah.
So by the time Rabbi Akiva rolls around, they got it.
He's getting the mission. He's gone. He's in row 8 before he's actually gotten the Torah.
Right. Oh yeah, no. There's some sci-fi time paradox.
So when he gets back, he's going to get all this stuff.
Not only does how would he know about the crowns? He hasn't even gotten the
good stuff.
Base text.
Right.
There's like nothing yet.
I hear that. So Rabbi Akiva's like, oh, you want to know how I know all this stuff that I'm explaining to you? It's not because I used the Gzera Shava or I used any logical deduction. It's a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Oh, Moshe hears that. Nisyashva daito. He is appeased. He suddenly feels so much better that he can re-enter the time-traveling device and chozer. He goes back. Ubal lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes before God. Amr lifanav Ribbono Shel Olam. Yeah. Yesh lecha adam kazeh ve'ata nosein Torah al yadai. You got a guy like that? You're giving me the Torah? Give him the Torah. That guy's amazing, right? Well, okay. So that's why I don't understand this whole discussion. Because what do you mean? Anybody can darshan the crowns of the Torah. They're halacha l'Moshe miSinai. It requires zero mental acuity. It just requires you standing at Har Sinai and hearing God and saying, "Oh, that's what." Okay, right? Isn't that the whole point of halacha l'Moshe miSinai? Is it's not a logical deduction at all, right?
Okay.
So why is Rabbi Akiva super awesome, fancy, amazing, fantastic? Anybody who's standing at Har Sinai is just as good.
I don't know.
That's okay. Let's keep going. That's clearly not what Moshe thinks, right? Yeah. Moshe's like, wow, Rabbi Akiva, super awesome, amazing, fantastically stupendous. So God says, Amar lo shtok, kach olav machshava lefanai. Moshe, quiet. This is the way I have it planned out, says God. Okay. No questions. We are not taking any questions. Amar lefanav Ribbono Shel Olam harisani Torah. So you showed me his Torah. I want to see what is his reward.
Right.
You sure you want to see that? Says the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar lo chozer lecharecha. Back into the time machine. Chozer lachorav rosh shoklim b'sarav b'makolin. They see Moshe comes out and he sees them combing Rabbi Akiva's flesh with iron combs, as he is one of the 10 martyrs. Amar lefanav. So he says. Moshe again scurries back into the Har Sinai. He's like, that was horrible. Ribbono Shel Olam, zu Torah, zu schara. That's the reward for Torah. God says again, Amar le shtok kach olav machshava lefanai. Quiet. This is the way that I had. I'm sorry. By the way, I mistranslated. Sheshoklim b'sar b'makolim means that they're weighing out his flesh in the meat market. But anyway, the point is that
so much better.
God says no question. We will take no questions. So, first of all, I forget which essay I saw this that points out that the second half of the story parallels the first half, meaning when the Talmud asks Rabbi Akiva the question, it's the same as Moshe asking God the question, meaning the answer that you get is there is no explanation. the answer that Rabbi Akiva gave the Talmud was, it's a Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. So the Rambam talks about the chain of Masorah and what the different categories of Torah Sheba'al Peh are. And I can't profess to really understand the difference between the Pirush HaMekubal versus Halakha l'Moshe miSinai, but I can tell you that he says very clearly, and this is borne out in the Gemara, that a Halakha l'Moshe miSinai is defined as something that is agreed upon by everybody, something you cannot ask any questions on, meaning you can't disprove it by logic, and it's something that there is no hint to in the Torah. You couldn't use a Hekesh or a Binyan Av you couldn't use any tool to expound the Torah that would get you to the Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. It's something is purely Masorah, right?
Tefillin is square.
Right, tefillin is square. So I think the Halakha l'Moshe miSinai include like the shiurim that you have to have a kazayis of matzah to be yotze on Pesach, just as you're supposed to have matzah on Pesach. How much? Halakha l'Moshe miSinai tells me you have to have a kazayis to fulfill your biblical obligation. Shiurim is Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. Mechitzos, so the sukkah is 2 walls and a tefach. How do you know that the third wall can only be you're yotze with only a tefach? Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. And then chatzitzin. If you want to go to the mikvah and wear scuba gear, you're not yotze tefillah. How do you know that that is a chatzitza? Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. So what I think is going on, and we'll wrap up with this, when we get back to that first Mishnah, and it says Moshe kibel Torah miSinai, and we said, what is Moshe giving over? He's giving over the Torah Sheba'al Peh, right? And originally what we said was, what's the point of the Torah Sheba'al Peh? It's because you have a Torah Shebechtav that is essentially unintelligible. That if I told you to keep God's word and I only gave you the Torah Shebechtav, I wouldn't know what to do most of the time. Comes along the Torah Sheba'al Peh and explains, no, when the Torah says pre-Eitz Hadar, that's an esrog. There's more to the Torah Sheba'al Peh than just an explanation of the Torah Shebechtav. What's that more? That more is Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. In fact, the Gemara in Nida says as follows. This is another time where Rabbi Akiva is pasking a halacha, and the students hear Rabbi Akiva's psak, and they're like totally blown away by it. Rabbi Akiva sees the students, and they're like, "What is he talking about?" Amr lahem lama hadavar kasha b'nechem. Why is this so hard? Amru lo. They say to him. They say to Rabbi Akiva, "Kashem shekol haTorah halacha l'Moshe miSinai, kach pachos mibashalosh shanam kshera lekahuna halacha l'Moshe miSinai." Really, everything is halacha l'Moshe miSinai, meaning all the stuff that the Gemara darshans through the Yud Gimel Midos, through all the different logical permutations, just like Rabbi Akiva did with those crowns on the Torah. All of that is just to tell you something that we really knew as a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. Meaning, anything that you find that requires a logical deduction, that's not really the proof to the thing. The logical deduction is another way to arrive at the same conclusion that I only knew from Masorah. We get this a lot of time in the Gemara, where someone will make a statement, and the response will be, if it's a halacha, nekabel. If you have that as Masorah, then I'll accept it. But if it's a svara, then I can fight you on logic because I think your logical process is flawed. But if you have it as a Masorah, then I'm done. It's a Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. I can't do anything with Halakha l'Moshe miSinai because that is a component of the Torah Sheba'al Peh that you got above and beyond just the explanation of the Torah. Is this Masorah that there is more? The Halakha l'Moshe miSinai stuff is at the same level as a Doraisa, but it's not in the Torah. That's super weird. There is biblical stuff that's not in the Bible. That's Halakha l'Moshe miSinai. That's what the Mishnah has to tell me was given to Moshe at Har Sinai above and beyond just the written Torah. And that's what Moshe gave to Yoshua to give to all the other generations, is this expansive Torah Sheba'al Peh that comes along with the Torah Shebechtav. Okay.